like to welcome everyone today to the Check-In Chat, our monthly get together with NAC. Today we're sponsored by Scooby, and we're going to introduce you to those folks momentarily. I'm just going to let a few.
Muted yourself, my friend.
I muted myself. There's a first for everything, and I just accomplished it. First of all, happy Valentine's Day to everybody out there. Always a reminder that winter is almost at an end. So great to wish everybody a happy Valentine's Day, even though it's a few days late. I'd like to just give you a few reminders. We're going to do these check-in chat calls on a monthly basis, and we're interested in future topics. So please send me any topics you might like us to track down that are specific to our industry, and we'll do the best we can. And then also we have sponsorships available, so I can also be contacted for that. They're very reasonable. So we'd invite you to please consider doing that. We'd like to ask you to please stay muted during the call, and please use the chat function to ask questions. And please do ask questions. The folks who are on today would love to hear them. And in preparing for this call, I know this is a very conversational group, and they'd love to hear from you, and they'd love to answer all your questions. A few announcements very quickly. CinemaCon registration is open. We've heard from the CinemaCon team, and things are looking very, very good for that event on April 25th through 28th at Caesars Palace in Las Vegas. And NAC will be there. I'll tell you a little bit about that in a second. And then our own event, the NAC Concession and Hospitality Expo, July 26th through 29th. I think we all know what that's about, but I did want to let you know that just recently we're going to look to have CCM, ECM, and ACS classes now. And there are sponsorships available. Trade show booths are on sale. Registration is now open. And the hotel link is also active at this point. So everything's all go. And we'll be giving you more and more details about the program as those things become available. I did just want to circle back to CinemaCon. We're going to return to our board and committee meetings on Sunday, April 24th. The charity golf event, we're also going to reinstate that. It's going to be at Snow Mountain at Paiute Golf Resort. Beautiful golf course, one of the best in Las Vegas. Registration, sponsorship, everything's available for that as well. So naconline.org for all that information, or drop me a line, and I can present that to you and walk you through it. We'll have a booth there at the trade show. There's a complimentary meeting room. We'll have a schedule available for you to use, so you can have some side meetings if you'd like there while you're in Las Vegas with customers. And then we're also going to be doing a seminar on Thursday morning that has become a tradition at CinemaCon. We are sponsored today by Scooby. They're a fairly recent new NAC member. And now I'm going to turn the program over to Jay and Bilal, and they're going to tell you about Scooby. Gentlemen, the screen is yours.
Fantastic. Just give me a second to share the right one. I think tried.
There's absolutely no pressure, Bilal, at all.
I know, it's like all the technology in the world, and I can't hit the right button. First of all, thanks for having us on, and I'd be glad to share some of our background and interesting story here. We have the, I guess, Scooby as a name. It's pronounced like Scooby-Doo, written with an X, just to make things complicated. But let's fill in some of the things that we can do here. We are really coming from the space from a perspective of data migration and secure data motion, where we build applications on top of it. And one of the ones that has received great attention from the market is our contactless ability to generate revenue through ordering as well as sponsorship. Really, we're working with venues to create better fan experiences that help them also reduce staff and boost some of the revenue that normally wouldn't expect to have. Who do we work with? We work, for example, here's a selection. We come from the hotel and hospitality world, so Accor is a larger client of ours. But
Bilal, can I interrupt you for a second? I don't think you're sharing your screen right now.
I'm not sharing my screen. It says you're sharing my screen.
Yep.
Okay.
It's not? Okay. Let me try to share again, because the green thing says you're sharing it. I'm going to do stop share.
Okay.
And I'm going to try to share again.
Chris, make sure you stop sharing.
I'm going to stop my
there you
share.
go.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. I'm going to try
I'll give that a try.
Okay. How about this? Will that work
There
better?
you go. Yep.
Okay.
Success.
Correct.
There we go.
Hey, look.
Yay.
You missed my super duper slide, but that's okay. This one is also good. This is basically some of the examples of our customers here today. Maybe people wondering what is this guy saying? We know about ordering systems, and for some reason my screen isn't changing. How about here? I click on this.
There you go.
There we go. A lot of interesting technology issues today. We know about mobile ordering systems. We know all about contactless stuff. We know people like Appetize, and the basic workflow here is fans, visitors, they place an order, they get the food. We got this all covered. What's the secret? What are you guys doing different? So before I go there, the question is that I always ask people is, if you have 1,000 seats, let's say you have a theater or you have a venue that has 1,000 seats, how many of your visitors come in and have a mobile phone? Normally we would say, well, 99% or so, everybody's kind of pretty much attached to their mobile phone and technology nowadays. There's no gap there. However, the question is, how much revenue are you generating from it? And I can tell you that most people will say we're not really generating any revenue from this. So this is the question we're trying to answer more than the ordering itself. Our cycle looks different, where a regular ordering system would have been okay with delivering the food. What we're doing is we're taking the fan and we are really putting a sponsor in the middle of the engagement, where you have the opportunity, if you're selling sponsorship packages, to increase revenue for larger packages. Let's say you have packages that are your standard packages, but then you say, hey, sponsor ABC, why don't we have the mobile package on top of this, which will get you a different type of interaction with the fan. We can then go to the order, or we can go to a mall. We really don't have a preference. Unlike a POS-based mobile ordering system, we can put many different backends into play. We can have many different shops and concessions interact, and they can be at the same time. We then deliver the merchandise and food for the fan, and the engagement restarts. So our basic principle here that we believe is a great differentiator for us is that the fan and order are connected via the sponsor, which gives you a great revenue opportunity for the venue. At the same time, obviously the order revenue opportunity is still there, and you can take advantage of it as well. So far, so good. Then there are obviously differences that we believe that we have also exemplify some of the things that we can do on top of a regular order cycle. We have a very low cost implementation elements. We do connect to multiple different backends. If you, for example, have a venue where you're working with different suppliers, you want to do some sort of pop-up restaurants, you want to do merchandise services that move around. All these things can be supported at the same time. We understand and we are activated by QR codes, and we understand that QR codes that once you print, you don't want to reprint them, we don't want to reapply them. We use a concept called smart QR codes, where you can make changes to all of your content, manage it actively for the life cycle without having to reprint anything. And very importantly, we don't require an app or an account for any of the end customers or guests or fans in order to interact with us. This lowers the friction drastically when people interact with the system, and it enables you to quickly move the system from A to B without people having to download anything. If you have, for example, one theater where you want to activate it, another you don't, people don't have to re-sign up for anything. Of course, and this is, we call it, of course, we have from the ground up have had the ability to have multiple languages, so you can engage with different audiences, sub-audiences, if you want to address them in their own native tongue. All that possible. At the same time, our content management system is made for really large scale operations in different languages and multiple currencies. We support about a dozen of them in different countries. We for sure do a lot of things custom because we are going for, in terms of interactions with sponsors, We do a lot of white label work where the system looks and behaves the way pixel perfect that the sponsors would like for it to behave. What does it look like in practice? When customers and guests and fans sit down and the event is in front of them and there's maybe a pause or gap and they don't want to quite get up from their seat to place an order, or they want to they have some time to now because the game is at a boring phase to look at merchandise. They scan the QR code in front of them that is normally placed, and they can then activate. And when they activate, they get to have many different options depending on how we have configured the system for that particular event and for the particular sponsor mix. So this the revenue opportunity for the sponsor might be based on the number of impressions. It may be the number of percentage, I guess, access. We then have the ability to what we call bridge the last mile for digital marketing. The problem that many of the venues now face is they're competing with a lot of digital marketing, whether it's Facebook, Google, and so forth. But their services, if you're able to sell a billboard, for example, do not give the automatic connectivity and the data analytics that modern marketing and sponsors want. And we are able to bridge that gap for them with our Scooby sponsoring service that allows them to actually bring that kind of service back to their sponsors. And we can create all kinds of engagement at the same time, where we are able to create really experiences that are, whether it's movie-based, whether it's game-based, whether it's interactive kind of thing. We normally recommend we need to do this in 5 seconds or less, because that's really the time that we are giving our fans to interact with us, and from there jump into the I guess the ordering or the mall from there. Okay, so far so good. That's I think the main differentiator in terms of the ability for us to take the normal ordering cycle that would be standard or mobile ordering activation and enhance it by allowing you to engage with your fans and the sponsors at the same time, and be able to create sponsorship and revenue opportunity from there. We want to share like a few, I guess, statistics here in terms of why mobile ordering is a good thing, even if you have not considered it before. What we find normally is that many of the fans do not want to go and I guess visit the concessions while an event is ongoing, and the main reason is it takes them too long, and they have issues where they really walk away from the lines and or do not even opt to buy any food or beverage because it becomes a chore for them rather than a fan experience that they would like to repeat. And if you had ever somebody, breathing down your neck while you're trying to order, you can probably relate, because you will order less. And the idea is that if you have the ability to peruse on your own terms, on your own time, the ability to go through each product that we have in our system in a beautiful way, you have then the ability to order more, and it's been taken to that extreme. Then people actually order more goods and services if you have a mobilely activated, fully integrated system like ours. What does it look like? And if you want to look at the mall, this is, I guess, 2 different examples. When we're talking beyond the sponsorship and activating the ordering component, we believe that we can deliver a consistent ordering experience regardless of the outlet that we are supporting in the back end. We can combine kitchens for more operational efficiency, so we can create ghost kitchens, if you like, where we also push all orders. So your actual kitchen might not be the one that you use right in front of people, but if you have somewhere a kitchen that you want to use for combined operations for kitchen as well as delivery, those are kinds of things that we can do. We can create operations that combine chicken and burgers, and tacos could go somewhere else, for example. So you have a new way of looking at personnel and distribution. You have a new way of reusing your cook's skills if you have currently issues with
AT&T customer.
personnel.
This is a charge confirmation call.
And I think this is just to give you an idea of some of the product screens that we have available, we can obviously engage with merchandise as well as food. In this case, this is a food experience. All right, I think we are in about 10 minutes that I had on my timer going. I think we're good.
All right. Well, thank you, Bilal and Jay, for being here today. And thanks for sponsoring this session. If you have any questions, you can contact, you see the email address right there on your screen. Otherwise, you can also work directly through me and I'll make the connection for you. If you have any more questions of them or we'd like to talk with them directly. All
Thanks,
right.
everybody.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I get
All
to share my
right.
screen.
You get to share your screen now. Let me just introduce you first, Heather.
Okay.
Heather Blair and I started this conversation in Dallas last year at the NAC Expo, and amongst many things, our discussion turned toward esports, and that got very, very interesting in a hurry. And Heather, amongst many things, is also the president of Cinema Esports Alliance. And today she's got Rob Chiarini and Danny Martin as her guests. Heather, I will throw it to you and let you take it from here. I'm going to go ahead, Heather. I'm going to go ahead and stop my share.
Okay.
It seems to be what the problem has been here. So.
Yep. You'll stop and then I'll add. So hi, everybody. I am Heather Blair from the Cinema Esports Alliance. That's one of the hats that I wear, as well as Women in Exhibition. And when I met the group from NAC and I understood there was an interest in esports, I thought, great, this alliance that I've started is literally just an opportunity to connect the dots. And the people that I invited to speak today are so amazing that I'll have a few questions and they will literally answer tons more than I can. So I'm going to show you just a quick little video. It's just a quick little, like, what is the CEAC? Love to have anybody that can join our little webinars when we have them. And then I'll start with my little deck to introduce Danny and Rob. Okay, so here we go. Share the screen and, oh wait, no sound, unfortunately, sorry. Hang on, let's start it over. I didn't start from the beginning. Okay, we got that done. And now I've got to find did you guys see that okay? But no sound. Okay. And let's see here. The next one is this. And get to my deck. Okay. So what we have are the amazing
Heather,
Danny Martin. Can
Heather,
you hear
you're
me?
not sharing.
Yes?
You have to share the file.
Oh, shut. Okay,
Yep,
what am I
switch to
doing
it.
wrong? Okay, what am I doing?
Sharing here. Still in the folder.
It's not showing the file. Kind of got it open.
Stop sharing and open the thing. Reshare.
Okay,
Easiest way to do it.
all right. Thank you.
Of course.
Did it show this time?
Boom. Look at that.
Yay, okay. Y'all saw all my dirty stuff. So I'd like to take a special introduction to Danny Martin from Exposure and Rob from Fulcrum, which also has an awesome new esports facility called Legacy, correct, Rob? Yes,
Hopefully
Okay.
correct. Yes.
I got
mostly
it correct.
correct.
Okay. So I want to let you guys introduce yourselves a little bit more before I go into the questions and answers. So I'll start with Danny. Could you tell the group a little bit about what you do about exposure and give them a little context to what you are in this space?
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much, Heather. Thank you so much, Chris. For eXposure Inc., we are an ed tech platform by far. We have a technology platform that allows students to develop their skill sets within the space of esports and gaming. So therefore they can enhance their portfolios, which ultimately helps in regards to retaining talent and recruiting opportunities for companies that are colleges offering scholarships to that of armed forces that are looking from a recruitment perspective in esports, whether that's the Army, USO, Marines, Navy, and even non-endemic and endemic entities within the space of gaming and esports. That's your HyperX's, your eFuses and such. And so actively being able to give these students programming, so therefore they can say, hey, this is what I've done, and giving them also opportunity to engage within the actual 8,000 square foot esports facility that we leverage as a career pathway for CTE directors. So therefore they can engage with the AV side, the competition side, the production side and such. But most importantly for us, we're student centric and actively looking and engaging with entities that has the same interests.
Awesome. And Rob, let's have them learn a little bit about you and your experience and why you should be on this call today.
Sure. I mean, I should be on the call because I'm a lot of fun. That's my
That's
take.
awesome.
Lots of energy, lots of smiles. But no, so Rob Tierney, thanks so much for having me, everyone. Thanks for putting up with us and listening to us talk for a little while today. So hopefully it'll be worth your while. Hopefully it's worth the time you spend. So Fulcrum is a consultancy that drives engagement in esports and gaming for companies and businesses. You know, we develop strategies and operations to help people either enter into the space or expand in the space. And so I can speak more to that at length at another time. It's not a pitch session for me. Some of my background, I've been super fortunate in the years. I'm much older than I look, and I play that up every single time because I spent, almost 16 years in telecommunications building businesses, and I was in gaming for longer than that now. I've built some of the biggest esports programs or worked with them in the world with IGN Entertainment, building up the IGN Pro League, working at Blizzard Entertainment, spending 7 years at Ubisoft developing lots of esports, specifically Rainbow Six Siege and the ecosystem that you see around that. I've been, again, fortunate to build global events around the world. I've got trophies behind me, all kinds of cool things that I've been able to do around the customer experience. And currently I'm working on, as Heather mentioned, I'm building a brand new 20,000 square foot facility at the North America's largest sports and entertainment facility out here in Arizona, amongst a few other different projects and working with different clients. So excited to be here.
I didn't know that was the largest. That's
it's the largest in North America. It's got a big star by it. It's the privately owned sports entertainment facility. So there's always a caveat. There's always an angle for you to be something special if you put a little star by it.
Cool.
Yes.
And just so you guys know, both of these gentlemen are both available. I know Danny's probably kind of really too busy with exposure, but both of them are open to being consultants. If you guys are looking at wanting to bring this sort of program to your cinema, I can't say enough great stuff about both of them, but you can probably hit them up in the chat to get their emails if you want to talk a little further about that. All right, so I'm going to move on with my slides. And I know, Danny, you had a video. I'm Fred, I'm sorry, he's not here to put that up for us. But the first question, okay, so tell us a little bit about how you leverage your program by going into the community and talking with your local school districts. And the reason that I ask this, Danny, is that I think the cinemas could benefit from understanding how to working in their communities to drive traffic into their cinemas. And your program is really good at that.
Yes, for sure. It's going to be one of the biggest focal points for that of having a facility in any geographic location due to the fact that high school esports is growing and that encompasses a mass majority of the students in the community. And so ultimately from this perspective, it gives a great opportunity to allow one to help the actual schools bring in programming in regards to esports and gaming, whether that's allowing the students to build their own, branding pages, their compete in tournaments and leagues, or to also utilize a space to do workshops for the parents and community leaders and such. And so for us, it's a great opportunity to leverage our facility as a professional development workshop where CTE directors, instructors, parents can come in and learn about esports and gaming from individuals within the actual space. So therefore, they can take all the knowledge that they can and bring it into their communities, and ultimately allowing you as a venue to be able to have, those larger events, because ultimately high schools are building gaming labs. They're much smaller. By you leveraging the actual space that has, AV equipment, a large spectator spaces from a seat perspective, the ability to have concessions and such, it gives you a great opportunity to bring the total amount of schools in your geographic location together in one space. So that's how we leverage our space here. We're right now in the middle of 7 ISDs, which is independent school districts. Specifically, one of the largest ISDs is Dallas Independent School District, which has around about 170,000 students, part of this one independent school district. So for us, it's a great way to involve ourselves within all of the different schools, high schools, middle schools, as well as the other ISDs in our local area as well. Because ultimately our space becomes that hub where competitions and workshops and professional development happen. So for us, it's leveraging our technology platform to go into those schools, provide those programs, whether it's a 1-day program, 2-day program, 4-week or 9-week program, and then actively being able to leverage our facility for good competition and good work sessions. So therefore, the individuals within your community can touch and feel and see what all goes into esports and gaming, because relatively it's going to be new for a lot of community members in your space. So you want to be able to leverage your space as, the show and tell.
If there's anybody in your local area, in the Dallas area, that I don't know who's all on the call, but is there anybody in the cinema space that wants to try to do something with you? Are you open to that?
Yes, for sure. Pretty lucky. We have Cinemark in our backyard, and Jack Grimes, who's just been announced as the gaming and esports partner for Cinemark. He's heading to our facility in the next couple of weeks to do just that, to figure out ways to add value to Cinemark. So I'm totally up for it.
Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to switch down to the next question. Rob, tell us a little about the different roles you played, which of course you have a little bit. But right now in your career, and when we talk about Rob being consultant, the thing that I've noticed the most about the cinemas, and of course I've been a salesperson to the cinema space for about 12 years now, is that the cinemas have had a certain sort of mentality of doing business because of just the way it's been done. The studios put the movies up, they do the marketing, and the cinemas sell tickets and concessions. And kind of entering into this space, it's a whole paradigm shift. Maybe Rob, you could tell us a little bit about your experience, what you're doing right now in this space, and how the cinemas can work with you.
You're just trying to goad me into going on a tirade, aren't you?
I can't help myself. I'm sorry.
So I do want to take a pause for a moment, because I know that this should be concession focused. I know we're kind of leaning into venues and facility focused, probably because some of the people that have attended the call today, you've known from those things. So my understanding is we've got groups here that are either concessionaires that are either owned and operated. So some of the facilities that are embedded in that, and either you're embedded in a facility, you own a facility as part of that, or there's catering groups and people that do those kinds of things, right? And there's probably some outliers. I'd love to know if there's any outliers in there, if there's some kind of different group or vertical that's in there. If you wouldn't put it in the chat, I'd love to hear more about what that looks like and the needs that you have for that. But back to, trying to define what's interesting for you, right, as concessions and things. And I'm going to throw up, are you going to get to this later, Heather? I don't know if we're going to talk about it.
I have to go look through my slides.
No, it's fine. Well, okay. I want to talk about just for a second about, what I perceive some of the needs and thoughts are is, if you're in the concession business, how are you tapping into esports? I think that's probably one of the questions and topics we want to do, or how do you get into gaming, or how do you enter into esports? I'm guessing. And that's probably some of the interest in that, or how do you leverage that? And so I think for concessions folks, it's more difficult because you're most likely physically limited in your ability to do things, right? If you're in a facility, that's your facility, you need people to come there. And I think what we need to talk about for you is, what kind of value proposition do you give to them once they are there? How do you attract more people or keep them there or make more money on them when they're there? As far as catering groups and other folks, a lot of facilities that we take these esports events to, esports are online, or they're in a facility somewhere, right? They're either online playing at home, or you're someplace that either has food or has access to food and things like that. Are you in the facilities where those gamers are going, and what are you doing to help keep it interesting for them? What are you doing to make the most money out of them when you're there, right? So just food for thought as we frame these things. And I'll jump back to your question here, but I'd like to make sure that we address any kind of items like that, because I think it's more specific than just venues for these folks, but I could be wrong.
Well, because NAC does work with the different stadiums and cinemas, when I did look at the list, it looked like pretty cinema heavy, but you can answer that on all levels. So
sure. Yeah. So for me, as I mentioned before, I'm one of the old people in esports that have done it long before we called it esports, when we're just running tournaments and gaming and things like that. And I've been super fortunate to be able to work on different facets of that. I've worked as a third party, working with the publishers to put on either official leagues or semi-official leagues or just authorized leagues, to working at publishers and developing the strategy and the go-to-market of our games and our esports titles. And again, as I mentioned before, super lucky to be able to do that. And even globally, not just in our particular regions or localities, even though I've developed local structures as well. So, and I've been a player and I've been a community organizer. So I have seen it from a bunch of different aspects around this. And I kind of bring a little bit of a holistic approach to those things. I've never been a concessioner. I've worked with hundreds of catering groups and different people all over the country and globe, but I've never done it myself. So I only know how to work and transact with those teams. And so there. What advice at esports and gaming events? So cinemas, if we talk about cinemas or any venues, there's going to be a lot of concerns around, what does your facility have and what do you need to have in your facility to make that? As Heather mentioned, and one of my, not pet peeves, but certainly something that can get me going, is about evolving businesses and what has gone and what has been for a long time, and the way that, most cinemas work. And my understanding, and just going as a viewer going, somebody makes a movie, markets a movie and stuff, and you find the local place to go see it. And maybe there's some loyalty there that this is my theater, but they're going there because somebody else has marketed and brought them there. And I don't know the experience past the ticket conversion and selling concessions and things for that 2-hour experience, but it doesn't seem like it's much more involved in this. Gaming is involved. You have to actually interact with the community. You have to work with those people to get them there, to bring equipment or to facilitate equipment. Theaters aren't ideal for gaming events. They're great for spectator experiences. So thinking about how that evolves from both an experiential perspective and an executional perspective. I'll pause because I will go.
It's good, because then that gives me an opportunity to ask Danny the same question about how do you see eSposure working with Cinemark? And the reason that I'm asking this of both of you guys, I want everyone that's listening to thinking about how you can support someone like Danny. He's in Dallas, but there may be somebody in your area. How do you support them? So Danny, what do you think that Cinemark can do with you to make this a win-win for your group, your people, your kids, and Cinemark?
Yes, it's a good community engagement. That's where it comes down to. So ultimately, it's about getting involved with the community, but on the outside, just like what Rob stated, is making sure that the actual facilities are equipped to run these particular events. And that involves the AV, it involves the networking. It also involves the actual spectator experience, like Rob stated. How do you make the experience very experiential, seeing that the actual facility wasn't outfitted for an esports event? An esports facility, like a dedicated esports facility that we have here now. So really, it's going to be given information in regards to what needs to be incorporated into an actual facility from a theater perspective, while at the same time, how to actively get involved with the core community, because gamers are very unique. Gaming is broad. Gaming and the gaming community is sectioned in several different genres, where you have the fighting genres, you have the shooting genres, you have the MOBA genres, which is, and also you have the sports genres. These are all different titles, gaming titles like NBA 2K and Street Fighter and League of Legends, and they all have different communities, right? And they all move in different ways, and you can find them in different social media platforms and such. And so ultimately being able to target those community members to allow them to be attracted to your facility is one of the biggest partnership opportunities that we have that's coming up the pipeline in regards to Cinemark.
And I relate to that as well. Back when I was selling the 4D systems, one of my cinemas had a location in Boston in 2 separate locations. And they had different movies that they would play, because one was more on the wanting the horror and the other one was more about action. And I'm sure that even within this space, there may be a cinema with a couple locations in a city, and they might be able to talk to you or Rob saying, this location is more NBA 2K and this location's more, League of Legends. So
Very
they could lend on you. Now, would you, either of you be open? Like, let's just say a lot of them have multiple screens and they're looking for new ways to maybe refurbish them. Would eSposure or Rob, one of your projects be open to like doing some sort of deal with them in those rooms?
So yeah, I think anything's open. I do want to circle back going, we're throwing out a lot of game titles and genres that probably make no sense to a lot of people on the call as well. So I want to be, concerned about that, just being like, hey, we're talking about different kinds of genres, just like there's movies, there's different kind of appetites in gaming. You've got your dramas and actions, and games are as diverse as that. And with that, the communities as well. And how you engage with those communities is going to be different because they're played differently. I think you just keeping phrase of like, there's a lot of vernacular that we throw around very easily because we're embedded in it. So
I got you, Rob.
Yeah, it's just all of us. It's just, it's nothing to throw out League of Legends, but then we're like, what does that even mean? So I just feel for the people on the call.
Well, if you've watched Arcane on Netflix, you know what League of Legends is.
I mean, you don't. There's nothing to do with League of Legends.
I'm just kidding. Okay, I'm going to flip down to another question because this also is going to go back to both of you, and we discussed this a little bit yesterday. Let's talk about menu items and specialty items. And I think both of you could tell us a little bit about what might be ways that the cinemas can utilize their F&B and their concessions to make a unique experience.
One of my favorite things to do when I host an event somewhere is I craft and cater whatever F&B menu as best we can to the game or title or environment that we're bringing. And so if I've got a shooter game with got grenades and other explosions and things, I might even take something as simple as a half and half or a Onopalm or however you want to call those things and rename it on the menu. And just doing those stylized differences at different times can make a real difference in the connection between the community, which is something that most people overlook. Something as simple as like, we're just going to rename what this drink is, or gosh forbid, we start making new ones where we make colors that might mix something in game. There's a lot of ability to kind of shift around what is existing and then kind of match it up with the game. So I love doing food items with that or putting combinations together that are something related to the game. And obviously you need some help understanding those things of what those could be, but there's a great connection because it's a bit of authenticity is that you're leaning into the game and you're not just like selling a hot dog, you're selling this bundled package for the game that they're playing. So there's opportunities there. I'll pause.
And do you see it be an intelligent choice to look for a movie that's coming out and try to have some sort of gaming activation and then a menu item to match that?
Potentially. I mean, the one thing I always come back to is what is the overall experience? It's not just what is this 2-hour time slot? What does that feel when they come in there? You've probably seen any of the theater owners. I'll use this example. You've probably seen cosplayers at different places, right? People that dress up for the movie and go there. And there's these super enthusiastic fans. How do you capitalize on that than just selling them the ticket or them just being there? Again, F&B is huge. It's like, what can we put together food bundles for them that goes along with that game or that movie? Super, super, super interesting. That's why you see thematic cups. And that's like a low hanging fruit kind of, okay, cool. We got this branded Spider-Man cup. Great. What else can we do that we already have in our inventory that we could just maybe mark up and change the name and great.
And do it.
Or convert better, right? Maybe your average conversion is 30% of people. Could we get 45 by changing some names? It's awesome.
Right. Danny, we talked a little bit yesterday about the way you feed the people that are coming to exposure, and you generally use vending machines.
Yeah, so we utilize vending machines, although in our last 15,000 square foot esports facility, we had our own concession stand and our own full scale kitchen. Now we recognize that we can actually have a smaller esports facility and actually hire in companies to be able to come in and provide food from whether it's a shelf experience or whether it's a concession stand food, whether it's like hot dogs and nachos. And then that's where you can allocate and give information about the specialty menu items, like games like Mario Kart are infamous in regards to leveraging, fun style names for foods that go along with the actual experience as well. And so ultimately, when it comes down to it for us, we're in the perfect position because now we can bring in outside entities to provide the food experience that we find that is beneficial to the actual audience that we're going to bring inside of our facility. And it just gives us that much more bandwidth to work with different partners for different events.
And I know one of the guests that's on here is a food and beverage person with a cinema chain. Is there any particular menu items that maybe that the cinemas should be thinking about that are kind of known as gamer food?
Yes, go for it, Rob.
I was gonna say, I hate labeling.
I mean, we're on the call. We might as well throw something out there.
We start having negative connotations with that, but no, go ahead. Kenny, go. You were gonna say something.
Yes, finger food. So, foods that actively you can leverage with a stick, like a corn dog. Also, you really don't want to have any messy style foods because of the actual equipment that it takes to run this particular event. So really focusing on something that's quick and easy, like I stated, corn dogs. Hot dogs is eventually, but chili cheese dogs, it wouldn't be as advantageous. But really think about foods that are very quick to eat, fast, and also delicious.
They got to hold it in a hand, right? And you're used to this in theaters. They got to hold them in a seat. So you're limited by either a tray or some experience, right? In between games or when they're spectating. So it's got to be transitional. So it's got to be something that they can consume quickly and or just hold in some neat way. So
yeah, and quickly is the number one thing that Rob stated. At these particular events is really like the energy. So thinking of a movie, if you're an action movie, you can have many points of action where you're like, it's getting out your seat. Esports and gaming is pretty much like that all the way through, right? So there's going to be times where you get up out of your seat, you're clapping, you're high-fiving, and think of it as more so of attending a live sporting event outside of that of a theater. So you have to be able to think about the food that you provide. So therefore it can allow someone to still have that hype engagement of attending an esports facility. One thing I have, this is a little bit off topic, but one of the biggest things that I really love of the fact that theaters can be very powerful is that most facilities, most esports dedicated facilities do not have a ramp style seating where the actual highest seat looks over and the bottom seat is right in front. We don't even have that, which ultimately it's a hindrance due to the fact that the person in the back, they really don't have the same experience as the person in the front. Theaters have that great opportunity to really leverage that as if you're like going to Wimbledon or something like that. Off topic, but I just had to add that.
Awesome. Well, you guys, I'm going to now let Chris open this up to questions. So I'll play my last slide, but these are the major questions I wanted to ask. And I figured the audience would have lots of questions and I didn't want to take up the time with me just kind of asking calorly less questions. So thank you for allowing me to moderate these two gentlemen, but let's let the audience ask questions and that way we'll kind of really give them what they're asking for by attending today.
Since you threw that out there, let me address. I started typing a little response to the streaming. So the question was, when bringing in spectator events like a tournament like League of Legends, are there any concerns or issues that cinema should be thinking about? Yes. If it's free, no. If you're charging, yes. Because then now you're starting, just like any other movie, you're distributing a gaming broadcast and things, and you could get in trouble. They could send you a cease and desist letter or a question because of the terms of service of the game. So we have to talk about how and what you want to do, what the licensing model is, if there is one, and what parameters that you can work in. And every single publisher and every single game will be handled differently for the most part.
They want to know what kind of money, right? If there's big money.
Because it'd be a question. Some are fundamentally against that. Some are not. Some are free because the spectator experience is free. And also, if you want to stream those things, I will state this, is that those games are much, much longer than you think that they are. Most people. It's not a 2-hour time frame. You're going to be able to condense that and get them in turn seats. And the experience of it as well. I can sit at home and watching that same event for free. Why would I come there and watch? And it can't just be because the screen's big. My little 11-year-old only wants to watch stuff on his freaking iPhone, even though he has an 88-inch, 83-inch TV right next to him. So think about the experience. Why are they there? What kind of activities are they doing? What's the value proposition for them to come out and watch something like that, which we can deal with. Just saying those are concerns.
Yeah, and if you have naturally at any theater, a theater will typically have a name that is known within their geographic location, nationally, regionally, or globally. This name alone and that branding helps you engage with the actual publishers much more easier than, you know, the kid that just wants to run the tournament out of the garage. So leveraging that branding power to engage with Psyonix, which is the creator of Rocket League, or Epic, which is the creator of Fortnite, or, you know, working with the publishers and letting them know this is your actual long-term vision. You would like to have tournaments over a certain amount of time span, then they can naturally grant you licensing. So therefore you can have those actual events in a safe environment. Like for us, we work with most of the actual publishers to make sure that they know that, one, we're going to be streaming, and also if we're going to be streaming an event for a client that chooses to rent out our facility where they've paid us to do the production, which is ultimately can be done as well in a theater if the actual equipment is there. But ultimately, you should be able to reach out to your local publisher and say, hey, this is what our time span and this is what we're going to be doing over the course of 2022. And you can then be granted a license. And there will be rules and regulations within those licenses. So just make sure that you pay close attention to them, because you do not want to get banned by a publisher.
Yeah, I'll throw out there too. Like, I'm sure that seems insurmountable. Happy to reach out, making some connections for you and things as well. So you're not just trying to like look on websites and find out who you should be messaging about what.
Thank you. That was going to be my next question. So
yeah, we definitely happy to help. Here to help and elevate the space. Right?
Yes.
So totally there.
Yep, and I've actually been there when people got shut down.
I actually have a question, pretty simple too, but you know, coming at this from somebody who knows very, very little, but the timing of events, is it advantageous to time an event over the dinner hour, or is it later or earlier? I'll just throw that one at either Rob or Danny.
Yeah, so I'll go first. Typically, when you're doing programming, we're experiencing field trip environments right now where students are actively being bussed into a facility to see and engage with the esports event. In that instance, you're programming directly for that particular entity that's coming in for that time, which is during school. Most competitions, though, are in the later hours of the day. It's more so from 6 o'clock p.m. and sometimes they can go all the way to 2 a.m. depending on the actual structure of the tournament. So this is known. So what's known in esports that, you know, we're sharing right now is that, as Rob stated, events, tournaments, and leagues can be long. A typical game, let's say for NBA 2K or Rocket League, and I'll say NBA 2K and Rocket League for now, those game matches can be anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes per match. And if you have 20 to 60 matches going on at any given time, you can see the length of time that it can take. League of Legends, just like chess, if you're playing League of Legends and you're coming across two good individuals in chess, that game can take hours, right? And think of League of Legends as the same element as that. That one match can go from 1 hour to 2 hours or such. And so ultimately think about the time that it would take for a particular game that you want to engage with.
Okay. One other thing that just came to mind, as far as the player spectator dynamic, because that's very different, right? For most of us, is normally we just have the patron who comes in and partakes, but you have a spectator, or you have a player now involved too. Does there necessarily have to be differences behind how you might cater to the player versus the spectator, or there's just some reasonable things you can do to make sure they're both being taken care of?
Yeah, it does. It is different. Like if you think about a spectator that's just going to come and just watch, whether it's watching the people live or watching a broadcast, right? They're there to just sit and be entertained and to be around a bunch of like-minded individuals enjoying something collaboratively, just like movies, right? Mm-hmm. So you've got that same kind of moviegoer experience. On a player's perspective, now you're talking about a competitor that's actively competing. And so their needs and timing and warm up, and just like anything else that you think of any other sport where they have to train and do something ahead of time or whatever, that's the same kind of experience for them. And then when they're done playing, either depending on how they do in the tournament, and we can get into the details of that, but like they're also a spectator at times. right? So you've got this added level of, accommodating the players in some fashion and also the spectators. A lot of community level events, which is what I would say most of the facilities we're talking about would be, unless you're a big stadium where you have the chance at RFPing and getting one of the big events, it's not going to happen. You're going to be putting on your own community led stuff, just like Danny mentioned, right? So those will be player spectators. Mostly the people that will come will be participants that also spectate, and very few spectators that just come to watch.
Yeah,
because they're not motivated to get out and just watch things normally.
Yeah, for sure. And the only instance that you would see, outside of Rob is that of a parent or friend supporting that athlete, where they're probably not even into the game, but they're there to support their family member.
Yep.
Which will be lower, like it'll be a lower percentile than what Rob stated.
Yeah, depending on the programming, right? Are they coming
Yes.
for a tournament? Are they coming for a league series? Are they coming, on Monday night play nights? Is it it's a dropping off the kids and going to a movie playtime kind of thing?
Okay.
Lots of opportunities. I mean, even dropping off teenagers going, hey, we're going to a movie. You want us to carpool? It could be any kind of limit around that. So.
I would say one instance where the main focal points of the spectator experience is going to be what theaters can do, and they should do this is celebrity signings, like autographs. So like any top professional gamer that you would have inside of your local geographic location, you can actually invite them there, and they can actually utilize that as an opportunity to engage with their fans. They can play in front of them while at the same time being able to sign autographs. And that spectator audience is going to be there specifically to watch and see and talk to that fan base. And also work sessions as well, where your spectators are going to be there to learn about the industry, just like what you're doing right now on this call.
All right, thank you.
How could the cinemas find the influencers in their area?
Yes. Let me see. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes. One of the big focal points is looking at platforms like Smash.gg, Battlefy. I'll place them in there. Battlefy, Tournament. These platforms are tournament organizing platforms where tournaments within a geographic location is being hosted. This gives you opportunity to see the community and where it lives. Typically, you'll see individuals interacting within the actual technology platform, or you can leverage social media within groups. There are several groups for each game. Whether it's NBA 2K, you have an NBA 2K community within Facebook or Twitter. And if it's a Smash community, you can find that group, and you will see the individuals that are considered celebrities or influencers within their actual space, because they'll literally be the ones that are driving streams to that particular group on social media, and they'll be in conversations. And then you can also ask around within those groups and say, hey, we're looking to be able to do a specific event around an influencer. And if you're looking to be able to add value, you can come in and utilize our space, while at the same time understanding who are your esports pro organizations that are in your geographic location. Those are the organizations that will likely have the influencers on their team already. So you can look at the rosters by going to your local esports pro organization. Like for us in Dallas, we have Team Envy. They have individuals on their team that have over 1 million followers. We have Complexity, which is owned by Jerry Jones. They have the exact same thing. Many individuals, from chess players to that of Call of Duty players to that of Counter-Strike players. And then even Mavs Gaming, owned by Mark Cuban. So for us, we can go to those esports organizations and say, hey, we want to bring in an influencer to our facility. So therefore we can invite our community to come and watch and get in autographs and such like that.
I'll do one far simpler than all of that, so those are all good ideas too. Ask your employees. I guarantee you, given the demographic, you have at least one son of a gun on your team that loves games and can point you in a direction. So just start there.
Start there. Super start there.
What a great point, right? A lot of our theater staffs are they're young people who are right in the middle of this stuff. So
yes,
what a great point. Hey, we're almost out of time. I just want to hit one more thing, a little out of left field, but since we are the National Association of Concessionaires, what's the most unique item you've seen at one of these events, at unique
Food item?
food or beverage.
That is really good.
I'm trying to remember, like,
Impressive.
I've seen pizza. What was it? It was a family night, like a family game night, and they had Pac-Man, and they cut the pepperoni into like the symbols of a Pac-Man, and it was like really, really cool to be able to see. There's a place in our area that is called, oh my gosh, if I think about it, I can't think of it right off the name, but they specialize in it. If I think about it, I'll send it an email. But they specialize in great food that's aligned with gaming. So I'll get that information to you guys. But that was the most coolest I've seen.
Okay, would love to have it. We are just about out of time. I want to thank everybody again for joining us and presenting all this fabulous information. And I've got a feeling, Heather, we've just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
And so I think
Well,
we're just
like I said, I
starting.
knew that if I grabbed these two, that they would give so much more information than just, some simple questions. They're the pros.
Well, and just from a personal note too, not only informative but fun with these guys too. So
Absolutely.
a lot of great information and a lot of enthusiasm for it. And I think that's important for us all to know that these are enthusiastic people. They're serious people, and they can help you out.
For sure.
Well, thank you for inviting us. We love it. Thank you.
You're very
Thank you.
welcome. I just have a few more quick items before we close. Just a reminder, CinemaCon's out there. Registration is open. NAC's got a full slate of events there. So make sure you check that out. Our own event, July 26th and 29th, everything is now available. Sponsorships, registration, trade show booths are now available. And then also that golf event at CinemaCon. Don't forget about that. If you're at CinemaCon, you want to play some golf on Monday morning, you want to sponsor a hole. We've got all that stuff in place, and it's feeling, I don't want to say normal because it's not normal, but it's feeling like things are opening up, and by the time these things roll around, we're going to be rolling and open for business. So with that being said, I want to thank Scooby. I want to thank everybody for joining in. You've been watching Check-In Chat. It's a production of the National Association of Concessionaires, where food meets fun. Thanks, everybody, and have a great day.